let me just begin by setting out the key facts. The case which was heard earlier on this summer is a case called Lee and HMRC, and it was to do with Mr. and Mrs. Lee, who back in 2010 bought a rather nice freehold house in Virginia Water in Surrey. Very much what I suppose one refers to often as a stockbroker belt, so pretty upmarket dwelling. But instead of moving in and living in their new house, the first thing the Lees did was to knock it down and build what for them was a more suitable brand new house in its place. And this, as you can imagine, took quite some time. Between October 2010, when they bought the house, the old house originally, and March 2013, when the revised property, the new property was completed, obviously, the redevelopment was taking place over that time frame. And we're told that once the new house was completed, Mr. and Mrs. Lee moved into the property and immediately occupied it as their main residence. However, some 14 months later, so this would be in May 2014, in the tax year 14-15, they sold the house and made a massive capital gain. They'd paid about 1.68 million for the property. Obviously, they then incurred the costs of knocking down the old house and the rebuilding costs. But even so, when they sold the replacement property for just under 6 million, as you can imagine, that crystallized a very substantial capital gain indeed. In due course, the Lees submitted their self-assessment tax return or returns for 2014-2015, but they assumed that because they had lived in the house for the 14 months that the house had been there, so to speak, it was wholly capital gains tax exempt. However, sometime later, HMRC decided to open an inquiry into the tax effect of the transaction. And the key thing initially that they were contemplating was, could we possibly argue that this house sale was a trading transaction rather than a capital gains transaction?